Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We're going to be unpacking a massive 10-year forecast for the global biopharmaceutical industry. And honestly, if you thought the last decade of medicine was impressive, you really need to buckle up for this one. We are fundamentally shifting away from an era of simple, step-by-step technical advancements into what is essentially a geopolitical arms race. Over the next 10 years, we're going to see an unprecedented flood of capital as the industry's focus shifts toward permanently intervening in chronic diseases, mastering wild next-generation modalities, and completely tearing down and rebuilding global supply chains.
Now, to really understand the scale of what's happening, just look at this number, $200 billion. That represents the projected explosive growth of the GLP-1 obesity market by 2030. It's an absolute high-stakes battleground. Right now, heavyweights like Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly are completely dominating the space. But here's the crazy part, the part that really blows my mind. They've achieved this massive valuation with only a 2% market penetration among the global obese population. 2%. There's this massive untapped ocean of potential out there, and the race to capture that remaining 98%, well, that's going to completely rewrite the rules of healthcare economics.
So, to make sense of all this, here is how we'll break it down today. First, we'll cover the 2026 to 2036 bio-paradigm shift. Then, we'll look at the 4 core investment megatrends. After that, we'll dive into the overwhelming scale of global CDMOs, commercialization and global direct entry, next-gen innovation in universal platforms, and finally, survival strategies in a winner-takes-all era. All right, Section 1. The 2026 to 2036 bio-paradigm shift, the geopolitical and demographic catalyst. We are entering a really critical window where leaps in chronic disease intervention are colliding head-on with shifting populations and intense geopolitical maneuvering. The crucial takeaway here is that medicine is no longer just about healing people. Securing the pharmaceutical supply chain has literally become a matter of absolute national security. Take the U.S. Biosecure Act, for example. By pushing to phase out reliance on Chinese biomanufacturing, this act is forcing global pharma companies into a frantic scramble to restructure their supply chains. This whole de-risking trend means that deciding where to manufacture a drug isn't just an economic spreadsheet decision anymore. It's a strict geopolitical mandate. Moving right along to Section 2, 4 core investment megatrends, where the capital is flowing. Let's look at exactly where the smart money is going as investors try to capitalize on this totally reshaped landscape. We are witnessing a massive paradigm shift in R&D. Historically, everything relied on the traditional wet lab. Physical experiments, massive capital expenditure, huge teams of researchers in white coats. But now, the capital is absolutely flooding into the AI dry lab. Traditional physical lab work is rapidly being replaced by advanced AI computer simulations, deep structural design, and data-centric screening. And it doesn't just save money, it boosts success rates exponentially before a drug ever even sniffs a clinical trial. It's a total game changer. So these 4 megatrends are pretty much the new rulebook for the next decade. First, in the GLP-1 obesity space, the shift to oral pills is massive. It removes those tricky cold chain logistics, meaning global distribution is infinitely easier. And honestly, it's a genuine threat to the $30 billion food industry because patients are just eating less. Second, we've got antibody-drug conjugates, or ADCs, in targeted protein degradation, basically precision-guided missiles that minimize toxicity and overcome drug resistance. Third is that huge supply chain shift caused by the Biosecure Act we just talked about. It's creating a massive demand for IT security and software bills of materials. You have to prove exactly where your code comes from. And fourth, those AI dry lab startups are using big data to lock down massive partnerships with big pharma. Okay, Section 3. Overwhelming scale in global CDMOs, the manufacturing titans. Let's talk about the contract manufacturers who are reaping massive windfalls from all these shifting supply chains. Because hey, if big pharma can't manufacture in China anymore, somebody else has to pick up that slack, right? Now, just to put things into perspective, competing today requires absolutely staggering scale. We're talking hundreds of thousands of liters of capacity just to get a seat at the table. Samsung Biologics is currently operating in an overwhelming 784,000 liters across its plants. Meanwhile, hungry challengers like Lotte Biologics are aggressively building mega plants to hit 360,000 liters by 2030. That is just a mind-boggling volume of stainless steel bioreactors. Samsung is pulling in incredible revenues of 4.55 trillion won, and they're strategically buying up U.S. plants specifically to bypass any geopolitical friction. At the same time, Lotte is acquiring facilities just for precision ADC production.
Add in CHA Bio's heavy investments in cell and gene therapies, and the picture becomes really clear. This is a pure, unadulterated race for capacity, for trust, and above all else right now, absolute data security.
Section 4. Commercialization and Global Direct Entry. Traditional Pharma's Quantum Leap. Legacy companies are totally changing their playbook. They're no longer content just dominating domestic sales or selling off their rights early. They're jumping straight into the global market with their own blockbuster drugs.
Just look at how incredibly fast these legacy companies are hitting international milestones. The speed is wild. Over just the next couple of years, we're seeing massive commercial execution happening in real time, with companies making direct entries into the single most competitive markets on Earth.
The big takeaway here is that players like Celltrion, Yuhan, and Hanmi, they aren't just participating anymore. They are aggressively going after multi-trillion won revenues through direct sales and highly customized pipelines. Celltrion, for instance, managed to drop their cost of goods sold down to a phenomenal 35.8% while pulling in over 4 trillion won. Yuhan's lung cancer drug, Laclaza, is riding this massive wave with its J&J partnership, targeting over 2.3 trillion won by 2026. And Hanmi is going all in on the obesity trend, producing an indigenous GLP-1 drug that actually proved an 8% weight reduction in trials. They want the whole pie.
We are also seeing some truly brilliant strategic maneuvering across the board. GC Bio-Pharma vertically integrated their supply chain by acquiring U.S. plasma centers to support their drug, completely crushing their initial U.S. sales targets. SK Bioscience pulled off a massive turnaround with a German acquisition and secured huge European funding for this revolutionary patch-type vaccine that doesn't even need refrigeration. And companies like Chungkundung are proving they can still land massive billion-dollar out-licensing deals with giants like Novartis.
All right, Section 5. Next-gen innovation and universal platforms, the power of adaptability. When we look at the biotechs, there's a huge shift happening. Capital is rapidly abandoning single-target drugs in favor of adaptable, universal platform technologies.
The industry's core question has changed. It's no longer just what disease are we treating, it's how optimally can we deliver this treatment. Take concepts like TPD, or targeted protein degradation. It's totally rewriting what we thought was medically possible. Instead of just temporarily blocking a bad protein, TPD fundamentally tags it and tricks the body's own cellular trash disposal system into completely shredding it. It unlocks targets we literally used to think were undruggable.
Innovators like Altogen and Ligacam are proving that mastering the delivery method is a total goldmine. Altogen's platform, which converts a lengthy, hours-long IV drip into a quick subcutaneous injection, was exclusively applied to the blockbuster drug Keytruda. That propelled them to an astonishing 49% operating margin. Ligacam is out there creating next-gen linkers for ADCs that bypass the toxic resistance issues of older drugs, and that secured the massive options from Janssen. Mastering the how is absolutely becoming just as valuable as discovering the what.
And the ecosystem for this platform innovation is incredibly wide. We're talking TBD innovators destroying those undruggable cancer proteins, advanced RNA therapeutics, microbiome delivery systems, right down to AI companies like Galax that are designing completely new 3D protein structures from scratch using artificial intelligence. These highly specialized innovators, they're providing the essential, indispensable building blocks for Big Pharma's entire future pipeline.
Finally, Section 6. Survival strategies in a winner-takes-all era, the 2026 Matrix. Let's bring all of these threads together and look at what it actually takes to survive this ruthless landscape as we move into the next decade.
Think of this matrix as your survival cheat sheet for the industry's future. It proves that it is no longer just about having a really good scientific idea in a lab. The companies thriving right now are doing so because they've managed to combine flawless clinical data with massive manufacturing scale and, critically, a secure geopolitical supply chain. Actually, if you look at Samsung and Celltrion, they literally went out and bought physical plants in the US just to hedge against global trade risks. If you take away just one thing from this explainer today, let it be this. Scientific genius must now be paired with bulletproof data security and highly strategic geographic positioning. So as we stare down 2036, the ultimate question remains. The pace of AI and platform innovation is breaking the sound barrier, for sure. But the walls of geopolitical regulation and data security are being built up just as fast. Ask yourself, which of today's market leaders are going to adapt fast enough to survive this ultimate test of both scientific genius and national security? Thanks for joining me on this explainer today. I hope it gave you a really powerful new lens through which to view the future of medicine.